Welcome back to Better Than Before. This is Tony Richards. I'm happy that Richard Gripp is going to be our guest today. He's the owner and president of Ignite LLC. It's a growth strategy and brand development advisory firm. He's driven, and I can attest to this personally, he is driven by passion, energy, and focus to see his clients grow, worth, and succeed. And he is a successful corporate executive and entrepreneur with over 40 years of experience in entrepreneurship, brand development, marketing, sales, and company leadership. He possesses a deep understanding of business, is one of only a few certified brand strategists in the United States and the world, and he's a frequent keynote speaker on the subject of brand development and transformational growth. And Richard is driven to see businesses and people become empowered to fly higher so they too can achieve sustained profitable growth and their own greater purpose. And I'm excited and thrilled and feel very fortunate to call him my friend. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Tony. I also am honored and thrilled to be joining you today on this podcast.
That's wonderful. Straight from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Richard and I have known each other for, I don't know, probably 5 years or so, and I always enjoy the times that we get together and share a meal and talk shop. We visit by this method quite often, by internet, far more than we're able to see each other, but I always enjoy it when we get together. And I certainly want to have you on to talk about brand strategy, of which you are an expert. But one of the things about you, and this is one of the things that I like to do, is I like to discover things about people that are unique to them, like a very unique skill and understanding of some things that maybe you just don't run into every single day. I mean, you're a talented individual. You teach people how to play guitar. You help people develop their brand strategy and brand development. But you've also been very involved in mind mapping. And so could you tell everybody in our listening audience today what mind mapping is?
Sure. I came across this several years ago. Traditionally, when I would be leading a workshop or facility, and I'm using the big whiteboard, and you're trying to sketch things out real time as a flow of a strategic meeting or session is going on real time. And then you're racing things and moving things around, and then, or you fill up the whiteboard. Now, someone take a picture of this, and then later it's got to be recaptured and retyped out. It gets a little awkward. So I kind of view mind mapping as a planning or annotating tool. When you're laying out strategy, laying out structure, laying out the course of a meeting, conducting a meeting, where you can take the benefits of a whiteboard, marry it with technology, and be able to real-time capture a growing intuitive map of what your strategy is, and say, oh gosh, this whole branch needs to move over here, and just click and move it right over there. When you fill out a screen, I can just capture it and send it to my audience immediately and move on to the next one. So you can get the benefits of a whiteboard, but in a much more 21st century advanced way.
So I got a question for you. So do you do the mind map on the dry erase board, or do you do the mind map on your computer as it's sort of developing? Like that seems to be a lot for a facilitator.
Well, I get pretty fluid with it. If I have an associate helping me lead a workshop, they can run the mind map. But I use it on my computer, then a projector that shows up either on the flat panel or up on a projector screen. So if I have a large audience, they can see real time exactly how our strategic plan is coming together and move things around as the discussion flows dictates.
I think for visual learners, I just think it's revelatory. I think it's simply fantastic. I'm trying to envision myself being able to do that. I have a hard time sometimes facilitating and also doing notes even on a flip chart, because trying to think. I'm trying to absorb what they're saying, and then I'm trying to think of my next question as a facilitator, all while capturing the info. So for me, I'm limited in somewhat in that capacity. I used to use a program. I don't know, back about 2004, 5, 6, called MindJet. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not. No.
So when I switched to Mac, which was about that time, about 2007, it didn't work for Mac at that time, so I wasn't able to use it. But the point is, I really enjoyed being able to visually lay out things that way. And probably if I would have kept after it, I'd still be, growing in my skill set. But what do your clients say about it? Like, how do they embrace it?
My clients almost always are impressed when they first see it. They want to know, how can I do this in my own strategic meetings? But then they also, I think they enjoy how fluid it is, because any kind of session just kind of goes, and then you rethink things, and or even if it's just capturing the notes in an annotated uh, org chart type way, they can see the map of everything we've done over a 2-hour session right there,
Hmm.
and then I can send it to them as a PDF. So it's and my engineering and technical type clients, they love it to death.
Oh, I bet.
That's just the way they like to see.
Oh, I bet so. So, how did you discover this?
Boy, it's been a long time. I've been using mind map for a long time, Tony. I think I was just searching for some way to lay out an org chart, or lay out the skeleton of a presentation that I was doing. And then I came across mind mapping, and some of these mind mappings tools are very advanced and very deep and broad and a long learning curve. I just went for simplicity. I just needed I don't need a lot of pictures and this kind of stuff. I just wanted a clean org chart looking way to capture notes, like you were going to outline something, and just I'm pictorial, so to get my thoughts where I can see the forest and not just be lost in the trees. And I just fell in love with it, and now I use it if I'm doing some business reading, and I'm reading a book. The best way for me to retain is to read it and then go back through and break it apart, um, like decomposing the author's book written in paragraphical style back to an annotated outline, capturing the key things that I want to know in a structured way. So if I want to go back and look at it later, I'm like looking at my own version of Cliff Notes. There it is. There's the heart of what this author was trying to communicate and key takeaways.
I can see that because I sort of do that, but I do it by hand into a journal. And, sometimes it's laid out in a um, graph form, or what would you call that? What is the geometric term for mind mapping?
I kind of view it like, if you were going to build a company's org chart from scratch, right? And you would start with the header, the CEO, and then underneath that, you would put the different departments. Then underneath each department, you'd have several more branches, then more branches under each of those. It's kind of like laying out your outline in an org chart fashion, either vertically or horizontally.
And then how do they get that from you, in like a PDF or something?
I just save it as a PDF. I can also, because I've captured it digitally versus in handwritten notes, which for me doesn't work very well because nobody can read my handwriting. I can barely read my handwriting. So uh, that means somebody else has got to take my notes and type them up, and it's just more steps. I can cut and paste from an element in the org chart right to a PowerPoint, right to a Word document. And so it's all captured digitally.
And so, what sort of program do you use for that?
I use a company's program. The company's name is MindCAD, MindCADD, as in David. It's a British firm, I believe, and their program is called Incubator. It's not expensive at all. Um, I like my mind maps to look very corporate instead of all kinds of curly lines and colored lines and pictures and stuff. I keep them pretty sterile looking for that purpose. And I like simplicity. I don't need a giant learning curve. The challenge with the problem, if there is a problem with Incubator, is it only works for Apple Macintosh. So if you're a PC, you'd have to find a different mind map program. I would just encourage you to look for, if you're looking to use it the way I use it, I look for a simple program.
So there's a skill involved in this, though, that I think that might be missing, and I want to bring it up here in our conversation. You have to take in what the group is throwing at you, and then you have to organize it in your head and then put it into a mind map. And so I'm not sure that everybody could do that right away. So if I was going to learn how to mind map, what are some of the suggestions you'd have for me?
Well, let's say you were take any kind of plan or organizational activity you need to do. I need to plan out or outline what my next keynote presentation is going to be when I'm a speaker. What's my presentation? I got a half-hour presentation, and I just kind of want to lay it all out like an outline. Instead of doing it in a Word document outline, do it on a mind map. It's easy to move, or really, this really belongs in this section. I'm going to move this set of comments or notes up over here, and you just drag the whole branch right up there, and easy and done. And so you can work with things real time because you can easily move things around, duplicate. You can do multiple maps, like a map for each chapter. So it's very versatile once you learn how to do mind mapping. I didn't find the learning curve that hard if you get a simple program. And then I just use it a lot. I use it for just about everything. I even take meeting notes sometimes on it instead of in a word processing document. Sometimes my audience wants to see the forest. What's this pictorial map of this strategy we're putting together, this sales strategy, this business pitch strategy, this operational strategy?
Absolutely. I mean, some people are very, in their cognitive ability, they're very proficient at seeing the system, right? They want to see the whole system, the whole ecosystem. And other people want to zoom in on specific tactics or tasks, that all they want to know is what pertains to them. And so it sounds like with a mind map, you get both.
You do. You can do the mind map by different file chapters, like a chapter. Let's look at the overview. Let's look at the operational. Say you were writing an overall business plan. Now create another map or another folder on this big map that's going to be just the sales strategy or the operations strategy or the HR strategy. You can start to, otherwise a map can get very big and very detailed. So make chapter maps, so to speak. Okay. You can also use color. Use simple things like, okay, for this person, everything applies to you. I'm going to do this section of the map in this color. And for this group, this color. Or things that are priority, I'm going to do in this color, and things that are additional but not priority in this color. You can use color as a way to break things up.
Have you ever done a mind map on a person?
That's a great question. On a person.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, here are the three things that are really working for me right now, and my skill sets that are very good. Here are the three skill sets really need improvement, that I really need work. Here is my health and what I need to work on there, and here's what I'm going to do for a diet, and here's my spiritual life, and here's my plan and what I'm going to do for my spirituality, and so on and so forth.
So not to be too simplified, but let's say that the heading of your overall map was Tony Richards.
Oh my.
And then you and then you just broke out several subheadings. You just listed some to me, right? what's Tony's passion, what's Tony's strengths, what's Tony's vision, what's his challenges, what's his goals, and under each of those subheadings, you could start doing, I call them daughters under each one of them, like an org chart developing, right? List the strengths.
I've seen doctors gasp at my medical records. I can't imagine what they do.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know what they do with a mind map.
You'd have a big map, just like mine.
So do you put your methodology on there? Like, so would you put on there, you got to develop your brand essence, and you got to develop your brand promise, and you've got to do this, or do you put the actual essence and actual promise? How do you do that?
Well, that's a great point. Let's say that I was going to say company A's brand, their brand distinction. The heading would be, again, just picture it like a corporate org chart. The heading would be company A. Underneath it, or company A's brand. And underneath that, I'd have, what are their unique value propositions? That would be one subheading. Another one would be, what is their purpose, their greater purpose? Another would be, what are their core values? Another would be, what are their visions? And then under each of those kind of things, and what are the tangible, what are the things they do that nobody else does or that's unique to them? And then each of those subheadings, you would just flesh out underneath them, well, what is the actual brand essence statement? What is the actual promise? What is their greater purpose under that chapter? What is the technology, the things they do? You just start to annotate it all out like an outline, right? And you can go as deep as you want to go. And daughters of daughter threads, that makes sense. That's mind mapping terminology, but yeah.
So advice for people who may want to begin mind mapping is, you have to find a software that you can work with, and probably, like all different softwares, an Excel or PowerPoint or any of that, just play with it, right?
Yeah, and I would encourage. I mean, I've seen some very advanced mind maps that I don't need that kind of a tool. If I was a project manager building a skyscraper, their maps can fill up a trailer, right? Every aspect of the job and timelines and everything else. I just need something simple for strategic planning, presentation planning, me lay out the contents of a presentation or of a book I'm reading, so I can have it where I can do a quick scan and see the forest by chapters. So start simple, really learn mind mapping, and then if your needs dictate you need to go to something more complex, then go to something more complex.
What's the greatest thing a client's ever said to you after seeing their whole plan laid out like that?
Wow. Can you help me learn and get mind mapping? I want to do it in my own department planning.
Oh,
My
really?
own meetings. Oh, yeah.
They want to continue on with that.
They want to use it. They
Uh-huh.
want to say, that's just too cool. Because, using whiteboards is cumbersome.
Right.
And this is the same thing. It's just digital. And you can immediately, before the meeting's over, by the way, I just sent you all the map. You now have it.
What's interesting too is that everybody's always either scared to death that somebody's going to erase the board, or they put a big note up that says "Do not erase the board,"
Right.
or they have to take a picture of it, right?
Right. And also, you're not limited to someone's handwriting. It is total, you're typing stuff in. If you are not comfortable real time in front of a group of people, facilitating the meeting and doing the lifting of the mind mapping itself, find you a colleague who can learn the mind mapping, and they're just like taking notes of the meeting while you're up there speaking. They're doing the mind mapping. It's not a big learning curve. You're seeing it real time up there as they're doing it on the wall or the screen or whatever, or flat and say, hey, Bob or Jane, could you move this branch over to here? Could you duplicate that under another branch? It really works for both segments. And they can quickly do it real time right in front of you.
I was facilitating a meeting this past Monday, And my handwriting is small, and like you said, only I can read it. And I was facilitating a session, and I was drawing a diagram on the dry erase board. And as I was going through the facilitation, I was adding to the diagram. And I've done this particular session so many times that I know the diagram back and forth. I know what all it's supposed to look like, and it's fairly recognizable. But I walked to the back of the room and looked up at the dry erase board, and there is no way anybody in that room could read anything I wrote on the dry erase.
Right.
You know, it was more a pacing mechanism for me in doing the facilitation than it was a learning tool for them. And so I could see where having a large projected screen with font and text size that is appropriate for readability and for people to see it would be a big advantage.
Yes, and you can, most basic mind maps now, you can drag in a chart, you can drag in a photograph, and it could be a business photograph. It could be, you can add things to it. So it's not just text. Just like on a whiteboard, you may want to sketch out something. So it has flexibility to do a lot of things. I'm at the point now, really, Tony, that I can't imagine doing what I do without mind mapping.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because I mean, I've heard from several different folks about how cool it is when you mind map. So, Richard, thanks for being on today.
It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, Tony.
Receive weekly coaching tips from Tony Richards, delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, Tony can help you reach your goals and give you a competitive edge within your industry. Tony's Monday Morning Coaching Memo covers topics ranging from leadership development to teamwork to company culture and more. Text the word leadership to 38470 to sign up for Tony's Monday Morning Coaching Memo, or sign up online at clearvisiondevelopment.com.